Hi, I'm Lakej. I've made a masterclass with SINEE, and today I'll show you some of my favorite creative processing tools in Ableton, and this is what it sounds like. So let's dive into it. So first off is the sampler. This one is, for me, very essential. I tend to process a lot with this as the sound source, resample and put things in here. It's a very versatile little unit. So to demonstrate a bit, I have a regular tom sample here, a 909 mid-tom. Pretty straightforward, not too weird or too sound designy, but you can go very weird and very cool with the sampler. It's really fun to just set up the velocity to 100%, and then you can start playing around with the sample in the sequencer mode and nudge around the velocity just to get a different kind of vibe to your sequence real fast. So we're going from a very straightforward one to a little bit of a groovy rhythm, you know, very fast, very simple. This is very basic, of course, but it's nice to have this as a setup, and we can move on from this. And then we have pitch and oscillator mode, which is really nice. This page offers you a lot of modulation possibility. You can go into the oscillator and start FM modulating it, so you get like a 2 oscillator FM modulation. And just this alone makes it sound really cool, like just going for something way different, right? You can turn on the pitch envelope to start modulating the sample even further. Go into those laser vibes, playing around with the attack. And the envelope in general will give us so many different kinds of vibes of this sound, right? So, and just from a tom, right? So, and even if we want to modulate it further, we can go into start looping up this sample, maybe turning it into like this kind of single cycle loop within the sampler. And all of a sudden we have some really cool synth sounds we can start tweaking about and yeah, really start going nuts with, right? So quite fast we go into a totally different territory, and just from a tom sample, which is a lot of fun, right? Hi, I'm Lakej. If you have a lot of unfinished projects that's just taking up space on your hard drive and you don't know what to do with them, then I will show you workflows, creative mindsets, and processing tools to take advantage of them, see them as resources, and start being productive with your music. In my masterclass, I will show how to build a track from scratch from just one sample using mainly processing tools that come with the Ableton Live stock plugins. And we'll go from the first initial idea to the full track with a sketch and making the final mix down. So please check out my masterclass. Right, so that was the sampler. Moving on, one of my next favorite one to modulate the sound and process the sound is the corpus. Got a lot of potential. It's a resonator tool, so it will give us different characteristics of resonation on the sampler. On the sample that we got in there. So we have still the tom sample, right? So once we start playing around with this, we will get some really different tonalities, which is a lot of fun to play around with. One of my favorite modes in this one is the tube mode. It gives this really kind of metallic, robotic kind of vibe to things, right? Yeah, you can really hear the potential here about what you could do with it and how cool it could sound, right? adding the LFO to this, you can go into some really crazy rates and start modulating this with some, with the amount of the LFO. And yeah, really thrash up the sample. Yeah, really amazing. A lot of fun to experiment with. So yeah, that was the corpus. Next one would be the grain delay, and I'm going to use this in the chain here, so we'll mute the corpus and you can hear the grain delay by itself, but I really like to do these all in combination. So we have the corpus and we have now a grain delay, right? So let's see what happens. And the grain delay is a really fun tool to pitch around sounds with. Adding some spray is always cool to grain it up. And we can go into the delay mode to start building up some more rhythms with it. So yeah, I think you can hear the sonic possibilities here. They're wild. And all this from just a tom sample. And very quickly we go into some really cool territories of sound. Now we have all of these processing tools in a row. The final one I want to show you before moving on to an effect is the shifter, which is really a really lovely tool. As we could, like, if all of these tools would be really fun to modulate with LFOs and random stuff, and I'll show you all of that in my masterclass, of course. But the shifter here is definitely a favorite. I love it for just frequency shifting, quickly finding better tonalities. If you have a sound that sounds cool, you can just quickly tweak it to sound better with the whole track or fit the purpose, you know. You can add it in ring modulation mode and to get some really crazy sounds. So let's see with our little chain here of craziness, what happens if we tweak around with the shifter, right? So we'll tweak around and fine tune a little bit here. Yeah, that's some cool bass sounds. So yeah, you can hear it pretty quickly shifting characters, right? And we go into the ring modulation mode. We get some additional tonality going on, which is also really fun to play around with. You can use the LFO for some really freaky sonic action here. I'm playing around with the time signature. Well, I think you get an idea how you can play around with this. Well, yeah. Very cool. For my final plugin, I use this one quite a lot now since 11 on sound effect, and it's the spectral time. So it's a really fun and intuitive, creative, and sonically modifying kind of delay. So let's check it out. So we have our little processed chain here, right, with these crazy sounds going on. Let's turn down the LFO here. We start sending this one. So right now, nothing out of the ordinary happening with this delay. It's quite straightforward delay. But once we start using the re-trigger to resample it and tweak this tilt mode, we get these really cool resonating frequencies and sounds and pitch shiftings and tweaks and twirls. And with the spray, we can really tweak this out and make them, you know, smudge out and give us some really cool textures in the background and Could even work as a cool call and response thing. We'll tweak the tilt to the other side. We get a different character of this pitch bend, so super inspiring, super fun to play with, and can give a lot of depth to any kind of, you know, pretty stale lead sound or something that hasn't got a lot of movement. And that's it. Okay, so if you want to know how I applied all these processing tools to build the full tracks from basically just one sample, you can sign up to my masterclass, and I will show you step by step all the way from idea, from processing to a finished sketch of a track with the mixdown and everything. So sign up to my masterclass, and hope to see you there.